The VanessaFeltz Breakfast Show.
First for London, first for Londoners.
Weekday mornings from 7.
BBC RadioLondon.
Bringing you another of London's big news stories this morning, lovely listener. The Metropolitan Police has agreed to pay compensation to a gay gentleman from London after it admitted it had failed to investigate properly his report of homophobic abuse. David Cary, who's 54, complained way back in 2007 that he'd been verbally abused by a neighbour. Scotland Yard now says it could have handled the case more professionally and sympathetically, and David is here live in the studio with me. Hello, good morning.
Hi, Vanessa.
So this goes back a long way to 2007.
It does indeed.
And what happened to you that day?
There had been a history with my neighbour before. She had actually been convicted of ABH for breaking my jaw.
Breaking your jaw?
That's right.
That's extreme, yes.
That's right. And then 3 years later she decided one night I was cycling home to jump in front of my bike and hurl a tirade of homophobic abuse toward me. And I reported it to the police, and they tried to say it was a neighbour dispute rather than a hate crime.
I see. And they say that then and there, you told the story and they said this is a neighbour dispute, or it took some while for that to
the
come
officer
out?
that I was speaking to, he classified it as a neighbour dispute. He actually said when he said things along the lines of, when is this going to stop between you? And I'm thinking, well, I'm not doing anything.
No.
You know? And they were insistent on this classifying it as a neighbour dispute, and they classed the homophobic abuse I received as minor words.
Right.
Thrown at me in the street rather than, homophobic abuse. And I was thinking, well, at that time in 2007, if somebody had called somebody, say, of mixed race background the N-word, the police would not categorise it as minor words.
No.
So why should they do that to somebody from the LGBT community?
And effectively this woman was calling you the most abusive words that we know.
Yes.
That are supposedly a synonym for
derogatory
homophobic words.
That's
and
right.
so you said this isn't a neighbourly dispute, this is somebody who's anti-gay targeting me because I'm gay, not because I'm a neighbour, but because I'm a gay man.
Exactly.
And they said, no, it's not, it's a neighbour dispute. Then what happened?
And then I complained to the Department of Professional Standards. They dismissed the complaint without even looking at the guidelines or even interviewing the officer.
Well,
And then I appealed to the Independent Police Complaints Commission. That was successful. So a second investigation was instigated, but this too came back inadequately because they kept trying to characterise it as a neighbour dispute.
yeah.
So I appealed to the Independent Police Complaints Commission and lost.
Yeah. And you lost at this point.
Yes, so after a couple of years I'd exhausted all the complaints procedures, and that's when I decided to sue. So.
And this is suing privately, is it? How does it work? You were suing who?
I was suing both the Independent Police Complaints Commission and the Metropolitan Police, so they're watchdog and them.
Gosh, I mean, some people will be listening to this litany of appeal and counter-appeal and, success and failure and winning and losing, and they'll think, my God, this must have taken over your entire life.
Yes, it's very
and they'll also think, this woman called you a this and a that, absolutely horrible, soul-destroying, heart-wrenching, definitely abusive, certainly homophobic, just no question about any of that, obviously. But hey, that was just one day in 2007. All this devoting yourself to these appeals and these it must have been all consuming. I think some people, many people would have thought they'd have pegged out long before. They'd have just thought, look, okay, how come you went on and on with it?
It's very consuming, and I get the distinct feeling they employ a sort of psychological tactic to try and wear you down for exactly that reason.
I
So
bet.
you drop the claim,
Uh-huh.
and I think claimants need to be aware of that.
So you exhausted every possible avenue of appeal. You decided to sue. You're suing the Police Complaints Commission and the Metropolitan Police itself. Talk about David and Goliath, my God.
Yes, it was like David and Goliath.
And where did you get the funds and the information and the help and the professional advice to do this?
Well, I was very lucky to get legal aid. I have fantastic legal representation in the form of Jane Dighton from Dighton Pierce Glynn solicitors, and support from Stonewall Gallup, which is a fantastic organisation.
Yeah.
Andrew Dismore from the Labour London Assembly. So all of these people, but particularly my legal representative, came together, and without them I wouldn't have achieved.
All right, well, you're here because you're finally victorious after all this time.
That's correct.
What is it like? I mean, that feeling that it's taken such a long time to get here, but finally you have been vindicated in absolutely every possible way. And yes, the police were wrong, and they've had to apologise, and you will be compensated. What's the feeling like?
It's a huge mix of feelings. It's wonderful, it's anticlimactic, it's a feeling of elation, it's a feeling of relief, and the things that have come of it. I mean, I think it's my case and another case brought by one of their own employees on a race discrimination case. The combination, the timing of her case and mine, has meant that they're going to create a unit specifically to deal with discrimination, which is the first time this has happened. And I think in the post-Brexit climate we're living in, it's incredibly important. And ironically, I'm an immigrant, so I'm bringing it. I'm half German, half Australian. And the irony is, people say, what do the immigrants bring? And everything. Well, what I brought to the table is that I've held them to account.
And some people will think, I'm sure they might think, you're called these horrible names. It's horrible. The woman is a neighbour. You've got to carry on living day to day. You've endured the misery of it all. Why is it so important to you to have it classified properly? That it's not a neighbour dispute, it's homophobia. Why was it so vital to you that you fought to get this on the record as what it truly was, which you say was a hate crime? Why did that matter so much? What was the impetus for it?
I think there are a few impetus. First of all, they knew the history, so they knew there'd been previous homophobia, including, as I said earlier, she broke my jaw and was convicted. Yeah. It's just crucial that they understand the difference between. I mean, it's crazy that they couldn't see the difference between it being a neighbour dispute and homophobic hate crime.
But explain why that matters, because after all, you're the person who suffered it. It must have been horrible, hideous. God, it must have hurt your jaw. But explain. The people listening are just thinking, this fellow's just saying no, Vanessa's saying and I don't know why. I don't really know why this is so important. The classification, the acknowledgement of the hate crime, the sort of underlining of that's what it was. Explain why, as far as you're concerned, and I'm quite certain the whole LGBT community as well are concerned, this really does matter. Why is it significant?
It's significant so that people from the LGBT community are treated equally. Right. It's that simple, and that the police really grasp that on their own website, their own LGBT website. They say, homophobic and transphobic abuse is a crime, report it, stop it, don't tolerate it. Well, I reported it, they didn't stop it, and they did more than tolerate it, they fought it for 10 years.
Yes.
So the classification is extremely important.
Are you an example of, Robert Bruce and the spider, if you don't succeed, try again? Would you say to other people, when it looks as though the avenues are all closed to you, do keep appealing and do keep trying? Or do you think when you look back and you say to me that there's been a slight sense of anticlimax as well as relief and as well as joy and everything else, do you feel that you've done the right thing in devoting all this time and energy and effort to it?
I do.
You do?
I do, definitely.
Good.
Definitely. As I said earlier, I think people need to be aware that there's this tactic of trying to wear you down, and if you're aware of that and you have superb representation, which I did with my solicitors and barristers then, and support from campaign groups, then it's possible to hold it together. It is tough, there's no question, but it's incredibly important.
Well, you've done an extraordinary thing, and as you say, the net effect will affect many more people than you, which is this new unit, this referral unit for discrimination. I mean, it's a colossally big deal, and it's for all different sorts of people in all different parts of the community. So well done to you.
Thank you.
So what happens now? You get to spend your conversation and have a lovely time. I hope you can relax for the first time in years. And
I hope so.
Have some fun, can you?
I hope so as well. I certainly intend to. Yes.
I mean, because this crusade has been a hugely time-consuming and heart-consuming thing, hasn't it?
Indeed.
Well, congratulations. I'm very pleased to see you on the day that we have this great news.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in. I say it's been a long haul, hasn't it?
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. That's thanks to David Cary there. I mean, his story on the news all over the media and every single channel across the country. And he fought on when all about him said he didn't stand a chance in hell, and he succeeded. So well done, and thank you very much. Let us go